The rain came down in sheets, turning the grass at Riverside Memorial into a slick carpet of mud and regret. I stood there in my black dress, the one Robert always said made me look elegant, though right now I just felt old and hollow, staring at the mahogany casket that held what was left of my 42-year marriage. The smell hit me first. That's what nobody tells you about funerals. It's not just the flowers, though God knows there were enough lilies to choke on. It's the wet earth, the freshly turned soil waiting for my husband like an open mouth. It's the perfume people wear to mask their discomfort and the underlying scent of rain on wool coats. It's the smell of everything ending. "Mom, you should step back. You're getting soaked." Emily's voice came from behind me, soft and concerned, the perfect grieving daughter. I felt her hand on my shoulder, but there was something about the touch that felt rehearsed. Too light, too brief. "Let her have her moment," Lucas said, but his tone carried an edge of impatience I'd never heard before. Not at his father's funeral, not when I was standing 3 feet from Robert's body. I didn't turn around. I couldn't. Because if I looked at them, I'd have to see the truth I'd been avoiding for the past 2 days, that my children had barely cried, that Lucas checked his phone during the service, that Emily's tears had dried up the moment we left the funeral home. The minister droned on about eternal rest and God's mercy, his words disappearing into the gray Connecticut sky. I watched the raindrops hit the casket, each one a tiny percussion that Robert would never hear. My husband had been a light sleeper. The rain used to wake him at night, and he'd go downstairs to check the windows, make sure everything was secure. He was always protecting things, protecting me. "How much longer is this going to take?" The whisper came from Lucas, standing maybe 6 feet behind me. He wasn't talking to Emily. His voice had that sharp business tone he used on phone calls. "The reception's at 2, Emily whispered back. "We need to talk to Derek about the appraisal before—" "Not here," Lucas cut her off. "Later." Appraisal? My hands tightened around the single red rose I was supposed to toss onto the casket. Robert had given me red roses on our first date, our wedding day, every anniversary since. This was the last one I'd ever give him. "Mrs. Bennett?" I turned to find Harold Garrison standing beside me, leaning heavily on his cane. Robert's boss looked every one of his 68 years today, his face carved into deep lines of genuine grief. He'd worked with Robert for 30 years at Morgan and Caldwell. If anyone had earned the right to stand at this graveside, it was Harold. "Harold," I managed, my voice cracking on his name. "I'm so sorry, Clara. Robert was the finest man I ever knew." He opened his arms and I stepped into the embrace, grateful for something real in all this performance. That's when he leaned close to my ear, his breath warm against the cold rain, and whispered the words that would save my life. "Do not go home with them. Come to my office immediately. Your children are not who you think they are. Your life is in danger." I froze. Every muscle in my body locked up like I'd been struck by lightning. Harold pulled back, his roomy blue eyes holding mine with an intensity that made my stomach drop. He wasn't joking. He wasn't confused. He was terrified for me. What? The word barely escaped my throat, but Harold had already stepped back, speaking louder now for everyone to hear. "Clara, dear, I have some insurance paperwork Robert was handling. Nothing urgent, but when you're ready, perhaps tomorrow." "Today," I heard myself say, my voice sounding far away, mechanical. I should handle it today. Robert would want everything settled quickly. "Of course. My office at 3 o'clock?" I nodded, not trusting myself to speak. My heart was hammering so hard I thought everyone could hear it over the rain. Harold squeezed my hand once more, a warning, a lifeline, and walked away, his cane tapping against the wet pavement like a countdown clock. I turned back to the casket, but my vision had narrowed to a tunnel. The world felt suddenly dangerous, the ground unsteady beneath my feet. Harold's words echoed in my skull. "Your children are not who you think they are." I forced myself to turn around. Lucas stood with his phone out, thumb scrolling, his black suit perfectly tailored and bone-dry under the umbrella Vanessa held over him. His wife, always efficient, always prepared. Her face was blank, professional, like she was at a business meeting rather than her father-in-law's funeral. Emily clutched Derek's arm, and my son-in-law was staring at me with an expression I couldn't quite read. Calculating. That was the word. Derek was calculating something. For the first time in my life, I looked at my children and felt afraid. "Mom, are you ready to go?" Emily stepped forward, her heels sinking slightly into the mud. "We should get to the reception. Everyone's waiting." Everyone's waiting. The words carried a weight I hadn't noticed before. Waiting for what? For me to go home? For me to sign something? For me to do whatever they'd planned while I was too broken with grief to notice? "I need to stop by Harold's office first," I said, keeping my voice steady through sheer force of will. "Insurance papers." Lucas's head snapped up from his phone. "Today? Mom, you should rest. That can wait. Your father would want it handled." I met his eyes, and something flickered there. Surprise? Annoyance? "I won't be long. You two go ahead to the reception. I'll meet you at home later." "We'll come with you," Emily said quickly. Too quickly. "You shouldn't be alone right now." "I need to be alone." The words came out harder than I intended, but I didn't soften them. "Please, just give me an hour to handle this one thing, and then I'll come home." The silence stretched between us, broken only by the rain and the distant sound of the funeral director's voice ushering other mourners toward their cars. Lucas and Emily exchanged a look. A whole conversation passed between them in that glance, and I realized with creeping horror that I couldn't read it. When had I stopped being able to read my own children? "Okay," Lucas finally said. "But call us when you're done. We'll wait for you at the house. We'll wait for you at the house." The words felt like a threat. I nodded, dropped my rose onto Robert's casket, and walked toward my car on legs that barely held me. The key fob slipped in my wet fingers twice before I got the door open. I slid into the driver's seat and gripped the steering wheel, my breath coming in short gasps. In the rearview mirror, I could see Lucas and Emily standing together under that umbrella, watching me, waiting to make sure I actually left. My phone buzzed. A text from Emily. "Drive safe, Mom. We love you." I stared at that heart emoji until it blurred, and then I put the car in drive and pulled away from my husband's grave, away from my children, toward the only person who might be able to tell me why everything I thought I knew about my family was a lie. The clock on the dashboard read 2:47 p.m. I had 13 minutes to decide whether to trust my children or trust Harold Garrison's warning. My hands were still shaking when I turned toward downtown Hartford instead of home. The Morgan and Caldwell building looked different in the rain. I'd been here dozens of times over the years, Christmas parties, retirement dinners. That time Robert received the company's Distinguished Service Award. But today the gray stone facade looked like a fortress or a sanctuary. I wasn't sure which I needed more. The lobby smelled like lemon polish and old coffee. My heels clicked against the marble floor, each step echoing in the empty space. It was Saturday. The building was nearly deserted except for security and whoever was desperate enough to work through the weekend. People like Harold, apparently. "Mrs. Bennett." The security guard, Marcus, I'd met him before, nodded sympathetically. "Mr. Garrison said to send you right up. I'm so sorry about Robert. He was good people." "Thank you," I whispered, "because that's what you say, even when your throat is closing and you're not sure if you're about to find out your children want you dead or discover that your husband's elderly boss has lost his mind." The elevator ride to the 7th floor took forever. I watched my reflection in the polished doors. A 60-year-old woman in a wet black dress, mascara probably running, looking every bit as destroyed as I felt. When had I gotten so old? When had the woman staring back at me become someone I barely recognized? The doors opened with a soft chime. Harold was waiting in the hallway outside his office, his face grave. Without a word, he ushered me inside and locked the door behind us. "Sit down, Clara, please." His office was warm, the heat running high against the October chill. Rain streaked the windows, blurring the Hartford skyline into abstract smears of gray and steel. Harold moved to his desk and pulled out a laptop I'd never seen before, not the company-issued one he usually used. "What I'm about to show you," he said slowly, lowering himself into his chair with a wince, "Robert made me promise to keep secret unless something happened to him. He hoped it wouldn't come to this. He hoped he was wrong about your children." My purse slipped from my numb fingers onto the floor. "Harold, you're scaring me." "Good. You should be scared." He turned the laptop toward me. 3 weeks ago, Robert came to my house at midnight. He was shaking, Clara. In 30 years, I never saw that man rattled, but that night he was terrified. He'd found something on Lucas's laptop during dinner at your house. Harold clicked a file. An email filled the screen. From Lucas, Bennett Tech Venture, come. To Vanessa Bennett, CPA Wogsmail. Kamsin, date, September 28, 2024. Subject, timeline. V. Dad's heart isn't going to last much longer according to his cardiologist. M got the records. We need to move fast. Once he's gone, we have a 48-hour window before Mom gets her bearings. Dr. Brennan is ready to do the eval, $15K cash for the incompetency signature. Derek has buyers lined up for the house, pre-approved for $850K quick close. Your forged POA should hold up long enough to get her into Sunny Meadows. Patricia confirmed she'll testify Mom's been declining if needed. Once Mom's institutionalized, we liquidate everything. My cut clears my debt with Vitelli. Your shopping spree is handled. Derek gets his commission. Em gets her lifestyle back. Everyone wins except the old lady. And let's be honest, she won't even know the difference in 6 months. L. The words blurred. My vision tunneled. I couldn't breathe. "Keep reading," Harold said gently, clicking to the next email. From Emily Morrison, Design Igmail, come. To Lucas, Bennett Tech Venture, come. Date, October 1st, 2024. Subject, timeline. Lucas, I can't believe we're actually doing this. She's our mother. But Derek says we're $200K in the hole, and if we don't move now, we lose the house in Westport. Dr. Brennan better be legit. And you're sure Cousin Patricia will back us up? What if Mom fights it? From Lucas, Bennett Tech Venture, come. To Emily Morrison, Design Igmail, come. Date, October 1st, 2024. She won't fight. Mom's been passive her whole life. She'll cry, she'll be confused, but she'll sign whatever we put in front of her because that's what she does. And if she doesn't, Brennan will sedate her for her own safety. By the time anyone questions anything, the house is sold, the money's distributed, and Mom's in a facility where they're used to patients claiming their families stole from them. No one listens to the old people, Em. That's the whole point. I stood up so fast, the chair toppled backward. My hand went to my mouth, but I couldn't stop the sound that came out, something between a sob and a scream. There's more, Harold said, his voice thick. Robert copied everything. There are text messages between Derek and a real estate investor offering him a $50K bonus for a fast flip. There's a contract between Lucas and Dr. Brennan. There's a notarized statement from Patricia Hartwell claiming you've shown signs of dementia for the past year. Dated 2 weeks ago, Clara. 2 weeks before Robert died. Patricia, I whispered. Robert's cousin. The woman who'd cried at the funeral, who'd held my hand and told me I'd always have family. She's part of this? She gets 10% of the estate as executor fees if you're declared incompetent, and she takes over your affairs. It's all spelled out in documents that Vanessa, Lucas's accountant wife, prepared. Harold clicked another file, and suddenly Robert's voice filled the room. I gasped. It was like hearing a ghost. Harold, if you're listening to this, it means I didn't make it. My heart's been acting up. And I know I don't have much time. I need you to protect Clara. Robert's voice was steady, measured, exactly like he sounded when he was working through a security problem at the office. but underneath it, I could hear the tremor of fear. I discovered the plan by accident. Lucas left his laptop open at dinner, and I saw an email from some bookie named Vitelli threatening to break his legs if he didn't pay $180K by December. That's when I started digging. Harold, our son is in deep with dangerous people. Our daughter is drowning in debt from Derek's failed real estate deals. And they've decided the solution is to steal everything Margaret and I spent 40 years building. Margaret, Robert's first wife, who died of cancer when Lucas was 5 and Emily was 2. I'd raised those children. I'd loved them as if they were my own blood. The recording continued. They forged a power of attorney with Clara's signature. They've bribed a psychiatrist. They've recruited my own cousin to lie about Clara's mental state. The day after I die, they're planning to have her declared incompetent and institutionalized so they can liquidate our assets. I won't let that happen. I've transferred everything into an irrevocable trust with you as trustee. They can't touch it. But Clara needs to know what's coming, Harold. She needs to be ready, because they're not going to stop. The moment I'm in the ground, they're coming for her. Static filled the silence, and then, tell her I'm sorry. Sorry I didn't see it sooner. Sorry I let her marry into this mess. Tell her to trust you no matter what. And tell her I loved her until my last breath. Protect her, old friend. Please. The recording ended. I realized I was on the floor. I didn't remember falling, but there I was, kneeling on Harold's oriental rug, my body shaking so hard my teeth chattered. He died the next day, Harold said quietly. Heart attack in his sleep. The trust was already established, everything legal and ironclad. But Clara, you need to understand something. He came around the desk, kneeling beside me despite his bad hip, and gripped my shoulders. They don't know Robert protected the assets. They think the forged power of attorney is valid. They think you're going to walk into that house tonight, and they're going to have you declared incompetent and committed to some cut-rate facility by Monday morning. Dr. Brennan is probably already waiting there. No, I breathed. No, they wouldn't. Lucas, Emily, your children are $380K in debt between them, Harold said flatly. Lucas owes money to a loan shark who will kill him if he doesn't pay. Emily's about to lose her house. Derek's real estate business is failing. Vanessa's been embezzling from her accounting clients to cover their lifestyle. And Patricia is a gambling addict who's been stealing from the church collection plate for 2 years. Robert documented all of it. They're desperate, Clara. And desperate people do terrible things. I stared at him, this old man who'd been my husband's closest friend, who had no reason to lie to me, who was showing me a truth so horrible my mind kept trying to reject it. What do I do? My voice came out small, childlike. Harold helped me to my feet, his grip surprisingly strong. You walk into that house tonight, he said, and you let them think they've won. Because Robert didn't just protect the money, Clara. He built a trap, and we're going to watch your children walk right into it. Harold poured me tea from a thermos he'd apparently prepared before I arrived. The cup rattled against the saucer as I took it, my hands still trembling. Drink, he said gently. You need to stay sharp for what comes next. The tea was Earl Grey with honey, exactly how Robert used to make it on Sunday mornings. The familiar taste nearly broke me all over again, but I forced myself to swallow, to breathe, to focus on Harold's face instead of the impossible reality crushing down on me. You said Robert built a trap, I managed. Tell me everything. Harold settled back into his chair with a heavy sigh. Your husband was a security consultant for 30 years, Clara. He knew how to protect assets, and he knew how to catch thieves. What he created is what we called the Omega Protocol, the last line of defense. He pulled out a thick folder, the kind lawyers use, and opened it to reveal page after page of dense legal text. 3 weeks ago, Robert transferred every asset you two owned, the house, the savings accounts, his pension, your joint investments, everything, into an irrevocable family trust. I'm the trustee, you're the sole beneficiary. I don't understand. What does that mean? It means legally you don't own anything anymore. The trust does. And the trust has very specific instructions. Harold's finger traced down a page to a highlighted section. If you are institutionalized against your will, or if anyone attempts to have you declared incompetent through fraudulent means, two things happen automatically. He held up one finger. First, every asset in the trust immediately transfers to charity. The children get nothing, not 1 penny. A second finger. Second, all evidence of the conspiracy, every email, every recording, every forged document, gets sent to the Connecticut Attorney General, the FBI, and every major newspaper in the state. Your children, their spouses, Patricia, Dr. Brennan, everyone involved gets charged with elder abuse, fraud, forgery, conspiracy, and attempted theft. I stared at him. Robert did all that in 3 weeks? He worked day and night, called in every favor he had with lawyers, accountants, investigators. Harold's eyes misted. He was racing against time, Clara. His heart was failing and he knew it. The doctor had told him another attack could come any moment. So he built this perfect mousetrap, and then he died before he could tell you about it. The weight of it settled over me like a burial shroud. Robert had spent his last days on earth protecting me from our own children, and I'd been completely oblivious, making dinner, doing laundry, asking him if he wanted his blue shirt or his gray shirt for some stupid function we'd never attend together again. Why didn't he tell me? The question came out broken. He wanted to. But Clara, you're not a good liar. Robert knew that. If you'd known what Lucas and Emily were planning, you would have confronted them. You would have tried to fix it, to save them from themselves, and they would have accelerated their timeline or changed their approach. Harold leaned forward. Robert needed them to follow through with their plan exactly as designed, because the only way to stop them permanently was to catch them in the act. So I'm bait. You're the spring in the trap, Harold corrected, and you need to go home tonight and let them think everything is going according to their schedule. My stomach turned. You want me to walk into that house knowing they're planning to lock me away. I want you to walk into that house knowing you're completely protected and they're about to destroy themselves. Harold pulled out another document. This is a recording device, wireless, untraceable. I'll be listening to everything that happens. The moment they make their move, the moment Dr. Brennan tries to declare you incompetent or they present forged documents, I alert the authorities. We have detectives standing by, Clara, the state police, the Attorney General's office. They're all waiting for my call. He set a small device on the desk between us. It looked like a pendant, silver and innocuous. You wear this. It picks up everything in a 20-foot radius, and if at any point you feel unsafe, if anything goes wrong, you press the center stone twice and police will be at your door in under 3 minutes. I picked up the pendant, felt its weight in my palm. Such a small thing to stand between me and whatever nightmare waited at home. What do I say to them? My voice cracked. Harold, these are my children. I changed their diapers. I stayed up all night when they had fever. I taught Emily to read and Lucas to ride a bike. How do I look at them and pretend I don't know they want to throw me away like garbage? Harold's expression softened with a grief that matched my own. You remember that the children you raised died somewhere along the way. The people waiting for you at that house are strangers wearing their faces. And strangers can't hurt you the way you think they can, because you don't owe strangers your trust. The logic was cold, brutal, and absolutely correct. How long do I have to keep this up? Hours, not days. They'll move tonight. They have to. Robert's been dead 3 days. His will goes to probate Monday morning. They need you declared incompetent and that power of attorney filed before anyone official starts looking at paperwork. Harold checked his watch. It's 4:30 now. My guess is they'll make their play before 8 p.m. Dinner time, when they can make it seem natural and concerned. I thought about that. About sitting at my own dinner table while my children performed care and compassion, all while planning to strip me of everything Robert and I had built. "What if I can't do it?" I whispered. "What if I look at Emily and just break?" Then you think about Robert working himself to death to save you. You think about the fact that if you don't see this through, they'll just try again with someone else's mother. Someone who doesn't have protection. Harold's voice turned to steel. And you think about the fact that the best thing you can do for your children now is let them face the consequences of their choices. That's not cruelty, Clara. That's the last real act of love you have left to give them. The tea had gone cold in my cup. Outside, the rain had slowed to a drizzle, and the autumn sun was trying to break through the clouds. It would be dark soon. "I need to go," I said, standing on shaky legs. "They're expecting me." Harold rose with me and fastened the pendant around my neck himself. His hands were steady, even though mine weren't. "You're stronger than you know," he said. "Robert always said you had a spine of steel under all that kindness. He said you just never had a reason to show it before." I touched the pendant, feeling the hidden weight of the recording device, the panic button, the invisible army of law enforcement waiting for Harold's signal. "What happens after?" I asked. "After they're arrested, after everything falls apart, what happens to us? To me and Lucas and Emily?" Harold's face went carefully neutral. "That's not something I can answer, Clara. But I'll tell you what Robert told me. Sometimes the only way to save someone from drowning is to stop jumping in after them. You've been treading water for your children their whole lives. Maybe it's time you let them sink or swim on their own." The drive home took 20 minutes. 20 minutes of radio silence and darkening sky and suburban Connecticut streets that looked exactly the same as they had this morning, even though my entire world had inverted. I passed the grocery store where Emily and I used to shop together every Saturday. The park where I'd pushed Lucas on the swings until my arms ached. The ice cream shop that made Robert's favorite butter pecan. All these monuments to a life that had apparently been built on sand. My phone buzzed. A text from Lucas. "Where are you? We're worried." I typed back with numb fingers. "On my way. Sorry, took longer than expected." 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. "Take your time, Mom. We're just heating up the casserole Mrs. Chen brought. See you soon. Love you. Love you." I wondered if he'd ever meant those words, or if I'd just been too desperate to hear them to notice they were empty. The house appeared around the corner, 4 Maple Ridge Drive, white colonial with black shutters, the porch light already on against the gathering dusk. Robert's car was still in the driveway. I'd have to do something about that. Sell it or donate it or... No, I wouldn't be doing any of that. The trust owned the car now. The trust owned everything. I pulled in beside the Mercedes Emily and Derek drove, the one they were 3 payments behind on, according to Robert's notes. Lucas's Audi was there too, still gleaming despite the rain. Amazing what you could afford when you weren't actually paying for it. Through the front window, I could see movement. Shapes in the living room, more than just Lucas and Emily. My hand went to the pendant at my throat. Harold's voice echoed in my mind. "Press twice if you need help." I got out of the car. The rain had stopped completely now, leaving everything wet and glistening. The autumn air smelled like dying leaves and wet asphalt. The front door opened before I reached it. Emily stood in the doorway, backlit by the warm glow of the foyer lights. For a second, just a second, she looked like my little girl again. The one who used to wait by this same door for me to come home from work, who'd throw her arms around my waist and tell me about her day in run-on sentences that never seemed to end. "Mom," she said, and her voice carried just the right note of relief and concern. "We were getting worried. Come in, you must be freezing." I climbed the porch steps, crossed the threshold into my own home. And there, sitting in Robert's favorite armchair, like he'd been invited, was a man I'd never seen before. 50-ish expensive suit, a leather briefcase at his feet. He stood when I entered, his smile professional and cold. "Mrs. Bennett," he said, extending his hand. "I'm Dr. Marcus Brennan. Your children asked me to stop by." They're concerned about how you're coping with your loss, and I thought we might have a conversation about getting you some support during this difficult time." Behind him, Lucas appeared from the kitchen, his expression carefully arranged into worry and love. "We just want to make sure you're okay, Mom," he said softly. "We thought maybe Dr. Brennan could help." The trap was set, and I'd just walked right into it. I stood in my own entryway, coat dripping rainwater onto the hardwood floors Robert had refinished 2 summers ago, and looked at the stranger sitting in my dead husband's chair. "That's very kind of you," I heard myself say, my voice coming out exactly right, tired, fragile, grateful. "But I'm not sure that's necessary. I'm managing." "Mom." Emily moved to my side, taking my elbow like I was made of glass. "You're not managing. You haven't eaten properly in 3 days. You barely slept last night. I heard you pacing at 3 a.m. Because you were listening." The thought sliced through me like a blade, but I kept my expression soft, confused. "I just needed some water," I said. "Mrs. Bennett, why don't you sit down?" "Doctor." Brennan gestured to the sofa with the practiced ease of someone used to managing difficult patients. "I promise this isn't anything formal. Your children simply asked me to check in, given the tremendous loss you've suffered. Grief can do strange things to our minds, especially at our age." Our age. Like 60 was ancient, like I was already halfway to senile. I let Emily guide me to the sofa. The cushions felt wrong, too soft, like they might swallow me. Lucas appeared with a glass of water I hadn't asked for, pressing it into my hands. "Here, Mom. You should stay hydrated." I took it but didn't drink. Who knew what they might have put in it? God, was I really thinking that way about my own children? But Harold's recordings echoed in my head. "Brennan will sedate her for her own safety." Dr. Brennan pulled a chair closer, his briefcase clicking open. "I understand you just came from your husband's funeral. That must have been incredibly difficult." It was. I let my voice break a little. Not hard. The grief was real enough. Only the performance was fake. "And how are you feeling right now? Emotionally? Mentally?" "Tired," I said honestly. "Empty. Like nothing makes sense anymore." He nodded, scribbling something on a tablet. "That's completely normal. Grief is a process. But I'm concerned about what Lucas and Emily have told me. That you've been confused lately, forgetting things, having trouble making decisions." My eyes snapped to Lucas. He wouldn't meet my gaze. "I haven't been confused," I said carefully. "I've been grieving. Of course, of course." Dr. Brennan's tone was soothing, patronizing. "But grief can sometimes mask other issues, especially in older adults. Memory problems, difficulty with financial decisions, trouble managing daily tasks. Your children mentioned you forgot to pay the electric bill last month?" That was a lie. I'd paid every bill on time. But before I could protest, Emily jumped in. "Mom, you did, remember? They sent a disconnect notice. Derek had to help you sort it out." Derek. I'd forgotten Derek was here. He emerged from the kitchen now, and I noticed he was carrying a folder. A thick one. "Mrs. Bennett, Clara, we're just worried about you." Derek's real estate agent's smile was firmly in place. "Emily's been beside herself thinking about you alone in this big house, trying to manage everything by yourself." "I'm not alone. You're all here." I gestured around the room, and that's when I noticed Vanessa standing in the doorway to the dining room, her laptop bag over her shoulder. When had she arrived? "Actually, Mom, that's something we wanted to talk to you about." Lucas sat on the coffee table directly in front of me, blocking my view of Dr. Brennan. "The house. It's too much for you now. Too many stairs, too many memories. We think it might be time to consider somewhere more manageable." The walls seemed to close in. This was it. This was the moment Robert had warned about. "I'm not leaving this house." The words came out stronger than I intended, and I saw Lucas and Emily exchange a quick glance. "We're not saying forever," Emily said quickly, her hand finding mine. Her palm was sweaty, nervous. Just while you're processing everything. There's a beautiful facility, Sunny Meadows, that specializes in helping people through difficult transitions. It's peaceful, supportive, and you'd have people around you all the time, so you wouldn't have to be lonely. Sunny Meadows, the cut-rate nursing home from the emails, where they'd planned to warehouse me while they liquidated everything Robert and I had built. I don't need a facility, I said, pulling my hand away. I need my family. I need my home. Mom, please. Lucas's voice took on an edge. Just listen to what Dr. Brennan has to say. The doctor leaned forward, and I caught the scent of his cologne, something expensive and cloying. Mrs. Bennett, I've been reviewing what your children have told me, and I'm concerned that you may not be in the best position to make complex decisions right now. The stress of loss, combined with potential age-related cognitive decline, can severely impact judgment. There's nothing wrong with my judgment. I'm sure that's how it feels. His smile never wavered. But that's often how these things manifest. The patient is the last to recognize the problem. That's why it's so important you have family who can step in and help make decisions in your best interest. The pendant at my throat felt heavy. I wondered if Harold was listening, if he could hear the trap closing around me. What kind of decisions? I asked, though I already knew. Derek stepped forward with his folder, setting it on the coffee table. Well, there's the matter of the house for one. The market's good right now, Clara. I have buyers ready to make an offer. Cash, quick close, no inspections. You'd walk away with enough to cover years of care at Sunny Meadows, with plenty left over. You want me to sell my house? My voice went shrill despite my best efforts. Robert's been gone 3 days and you want me to sell our home? We want you to be taken care of, Emily insisted, tears welling in her eyes. Real tears? Or practiced ones? I couldn't tell anymore. Mom, you're not thinking clearly. You can't manage this place alone. The bills, the maintenance, the memories. It's too much. I can manage fine. Can you? Lucas's mask slipped just slightly. Can you really, Mom? Because from where we're sitting, you look like you're barely holding it together. Dr. Brennan cleared his throat. Perhaps this is a good time to discuss the evaluation I'd like to conduct. Just a simple cognitive assessment, completely standard for someone in your situation. It would help us understand what level of support you need. I don't need an evaluation. Mom. Emily's voice turned pleading. Please, just let Dr. Brennan ask a few questions. What's the harm? The harm was that Dr. Brennan had been paid $15,000 to declare me incompetent. The harm was that every answer I gave would be twisted into evidence that I couldn't care for myself. The harm was that I was surrounded by people who were supposed to love me, but instead were circling like vultures. The front door opened, and Patricia Hartwell swept in like she owned the place. Clara, darling, I came as soon as I heard. Robert's cousin rushed to the sofa, enveloping me in a cloud of perfume and false sympathy. Lucas called and told me what's happening. Oh, honey, I'm so sorry, but he's right. You need help. I've noticed you seeming confused at church lately, forgetting names, losing track of conversations. I should have said something sooner. Another liar, another conspirator. I looked around the room, Lucas, Emily, Derek, Vanessa, Patricia, Dr. Brennan, and realized I was completely surrounded. I think we should discuss the power of attorney, Vanessa said, pulling documents from her bag with practiced efficiency. It's just a formality, Clara, but it would allow Lucas and Emily to help manage things while you focus on healing. Pay bills, make medical decisions if needed, handle the estate paperwork. Just temporary, until you're feeling stronger. She laid the papers on the coffee table, and I saw my signature at the bottom. My signature, perfectly forged. My hands clenched in my lap, the pendant pressed against my chest, a reminder that Harold was listening. That help was minutes away, but I needed them to say it. I needed them to explicitly try to force this on me before I could spring the trap. I'd like to read it first, I said quietly. Lucas's jaw tightened. Mom, it's just legal boilerplate. Vanessa's a professional. She wouldn't. I'd like to read it. Firmer this time. Vanessa handed me the document, and I forced myself to scan the dense legal text, even though my vision was swimming. There it was, my name, my husband's name, our address, and there at the bottom, the signature that looked exactly like mine, but that I'd never written. I looked up at Vanessa. When did I sign this? She didn't miss a beat. Last month, Clara. Don't you remember? We went to the notary together after your hair appointment. Another lie. I'd never been to a notary with Vanessa. But there it was, notarized and dated September 15th, complete with a stamp and a witness signature I didn't recognize. I don't remember that, I said softly. See? Emily's voice cracked. Mom, that's what we're trying to tell you. You're forgetting things, important things. That's why we need to help you. Dr. Brennan stood up. Mrs. Bennett, I think it would be best if you came with me to Sunny Meadows tonight, just for observation. A few days of rest, proper meals, someone to monitor your medications. I'm not on any medications, but you should be. He pulled a prescription pad from his briefcase. For the anxiety, the grief, the confusion, I can start you on something gentle, just to help you through this transition. Sedation, just like the emails had said. No, I said, standing up. My legs felt weak, but I forced them to hold me. No, I'm not going anywhere. This is my house. I'm staying here. Mom, be reasonable. Lucas stood too, and suddenly he was between me and the door. You're not well. We're trying to help you. By stealing my home? By forging my signature? The words escaped before I could stop them. The room went silent. Derek recovered first. Clara, no one's stealing anything. That's exactly the kind of paranoid thinking that concerns us. Right, Dr. Brennan? Textbook signs of cognitive decline, the doctor agreed smoothly. Paranoia, accusations against family members, resistance to necessary care. Mrs. Bennett, I'm afraid I'm going to have to recommend immediate intervention. I'm not going anywhere with you. Mom, Emily was crying now, real messy tears. Please, we love you. We just want what's best for you. I looked at my daughter, this woman I'd raised, who'd called me mommy, and brought me macaroni art and let me braid her hair for school photos, and saw a stranger wearing her face. If you loved me, I said quietly, you wouldn't be doing this. Lucas's expression hardened. Dr. Brennan, can you sign the paperwork for emergency commitment? She's clearly a danger to herself. And there it was, the line they'd crossed, the proof Harold needed. I reached for the pendant at my throat and pressed the center stone twice. 3 minutes. That's how long Harold had said it would take for police to arrive once I pressed the panic button. 3 minutes that stretched like hours. Mom, what are you doing? Emily's eyes fixed on my hand at my throat, still touching the pendant. Making a call, I said quietly. Lucas lunged forward. Give me your phone. You're not thinking clearly. I don't have my phone. I stepped back, keeping the coffee table between us. I don't need it. Dr. Brennan's professional mask finally slipped. His eyes went cold, calculating. Mr. Bennett, we need to expedite this. Get me the sedative from my bag. What? I watched Lucas hesitate, some small part of him, the boy I'd raised, recoiling from what was being asked. You want to drug her? She's becoming agitated. It's for her own safety. Brennan was already reaching into his briefcase, pulling out a small case with a syringe inside. This is standard protocol for patients experiencing acute paranoid episodes. I'm not paranoid, I said, backing toward the fireplace. I'm completely lucid, and you're all about to be arrested. Vanessa laughed. Actually laughed. Arrested? Clara, listen to yourself. You sound insane. Do I? I pulled the pendant out from under my collar, holding it up so they could all see it. This has been recording everything, every word you've said, every lie you've told. Harold Garrison has been listening to the entire conversation, and he's already called the police. The room erupted. You bitch! Derek's real estate smile vanished, replaced by naked fury. You set us up. No, My voice came out steady, strong. My husband set you up. I'm just the bait that made you reveal yourselves. Lucas went white. Mom, whatever you think you heard. I think I heard my son planning to have me locked away in a nursing home so he could steal my house and pay off his gambling debts. I think I heard my daughter discussing how the old lady won't even know the difference in 6 months. I think I heard every single one of you conspiring to destroy me. Patricia grabbed her purse. I'm leaving. No, you're not. I moved to block the hallway. You're going to stay right here and explain to the police why you signed a notarized statement claiming I have dementia when I've never shown a single symptom. Clara, be reasonable. Reasonable. The word came out as a scream, and I didn't care. 42 years of being reasonable, of being kind, of swallowing my feelings to keep the peace, it all came pouring out. You planned to throw me away like garbage. You forged my signature. You bribed a doctor. You recruited family members to lie about me. And you want me to be reasonable? Dr. Brennan moved toward me with the syringe. Mrs. Bennett, you need to calm down. Touch me with that and I'll break your arm. I grabbed the fireplace poker, surprised by how natural it felt in my hand. Stay back. All of you. Emily was crying, makeup streaming down her face. Mom, please, you don't understand. We were desperate. Derek's business is failing, and we're going to lose everything. So you decided to take mine instead? It's not like you need it. Lucas's desperation boiled over into anger. You're 60 years old, living alone in a huge house you can't maintain. We're your children. We should inherit while we can actually use it, not wait until you're 90 and it's too late to save our lives. The honesty was almost refreshing in its cruelty. Your father worked himself to death building this life, I said softly, and his last act on earth was protecting it from you. Sirens wailed in the distance, getting closer. Vanessa's accounting brain started calculating escape routes. Lucas, we need to leave, now. We can say she invited us over, that she was confused. There's nowhere to run. Harold's voice came from the doorway, his cane tapping as he entered with 2 uniformed officers flanking him. Behind them, I could see more police cars pulling up, their lights painting the house in red and blue. Every word has been recorded and transmitted in real time to the Connecticut State Police and the Attorney General's office. Detective Martinez, her nameplate red, stepped forward, badge out. Lucas Bennett, Emily Morrison, you're both under arrest for conspiracy to commit fraud, elder abuse, and attempted theft. Derek Morrison, Vanessa Bennett, you're under arrest for conspiracy and document forgery. Dr. Marcus Brennan, you're under arrest for bribery and conspiracy to commit elder abuse. Patricia Hartwell, you're under arrest for perjury and conspiracy. The room exploded into chaos. This is insane! Derek backed toward the window. We didn't do anything illegal. We were trying to help her. With forged documents? Detective Martinez pulled out handcuffs. With a bribed psychiatrist? With plans to institutionalize her against her will and liquidate her assets? That's not help, Mr. Morrison. That's elder abuse and fraud. I want a lawyer, Vanessa snapped, already trying to distance herself. And for the record, the forgery was Lucas's idea. I just executed his instructions. You lying? Lucas turned on his wife. You're the one who said we could make it look legal. Hands behind your back, sir. An officer grabbed Lucas, who tried to pull away. Get your hands off me. Mom, tell them this is a misunderstanding. I stood there, fireplace poker still in my hand, and said nothing. Emily collapsed onto the sofa, sobbing. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. We didn't mean... Derek said it would be easy, that you'd be better off, that we'd take care of you. Better off in Sunny Meadows? I heard the ice in my voice. The facility that cost $3,000 a month while you sold my house for $850,000. That math doesn't work out to you taking care of me, Emily. Doctor, Brennan tried one last play. Officers, I'm a licensed physician. I was called here to evaluate a patient showing signs of acute dementia. Everything I did was medically appropriate. We have recordings of you agreeing to falsify a competency evaluation for $15,000 cash, Dr. Brennan. Detective Martinez looked disgusted. You'll be losing that medical license along with your freedom. Harold moved to my side, gently taking the poker from my trembling hands. It's over, Clara. You're safe now. I watched as they handcuffed my children. Lucas, still defiant, still convinced he was the victim somehow. Emily, broken and crying, mascara running, the perfect daughter mask completely shattered. Derek turned on Lucas as they were being led out. This is your fault. Your gambling debts, your brilliant ideas. I never wanted to do this. You were 3 payments behind on your Mercedes, Lucas shot back. Don't act like you weren't desperate too. Vanessa was already talking to her lawyer on speakerphone, throwing everyone under the bus. Patricia kept insisting she'd been manipulated, that she didn't understand what she was signing, that she had a gambling problem and wasn't thinking clearly. More officers arrived. I heard them reading Miranda rights, explaining charges. Something about additional evidence of embezzlement from Vanessa's clients. Something about Lucas owing money to organized crime. Something about Derek's real estate fraud being under investigation. The crimes just kept multiplying. Mrs. Bennett? A female detective approached me gently. I'm Detective Sarah Chen. I know this is overwhelming, but we're going to need your statement. Are you comfortable doing that tonight, or would you prefer to wait until morning? I looked around my living room. Police officers everywhere, evidence bags being filled, my children in handcuffs being read their rights. The house Robert had lovingly maintained. The home where I'd raised Lucas and Emily, where I'd kissed scraped knees and helped with homework and believed I was building something good. Tonight, I said, I want to do it tonight while it's fresh. Emily's voice cut through the chaos. Mom, please, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. Tell them it was a mistake. Tell them we love you. I turned to look at my daughter, this woman who'd planned to lock me away and steal everything I had. You love my money, I said quietly. You never loved me. That's not true. She was being led toward the door, still sobbing. Mom, please, I made a mistake. Derek pushed me into it. I was scared. I wasn't thinking. You thought plenty, I said. You thought about how much the house was worth. You thought about your lifestyle. You thought about everything except what this would do to me. Lucas's voice was harder, angrier. You're really going to let them arrest us? Your own children? Dad would be ashamed of you. Something in me snapped. Your father died protecting me from you. The words ripped out of me. He spent his last 3 weeks on Earth building a legal fortress because he loved me more than you ever did. He's not ashamed of me, Lucas. He's ashamed of you. Lucas's face went red, then white. For the first time, I saw real fear in his eyes. Not fear of the police or jail time, fear that I might actually be telling the truth. What do you mean, Dad knew? His voice went small, childlike. Harold stepped forward. Your father discovered your entire conspiracy 6 weeks ago, son. He recorded everything. Every email, every text message, every conversation with your bookie. He knew about the $180,000 you owe to Vincent Vitelli. He knew about Emily's debts, Derek's failing business, Vanessa's embezzlement. He documented all of it. No. Lucas shook his head. No, that's impossible. We were careful. You left your laptop open at dinner, I said softly. Robert saw the emails to Vitelli. After that, he started digging, and what he found broke his heart. But he didn't confront you. He just protected me, the way he always did. Emily was nearly hyperventilating. Did he die because of us? Because of the stress? The question hung in the air like poison. The doctor said it was a heart attack, Harold said carefully. But yes, Emily, the stress of discovering what his children had become certainly didn't help. That broke her. Emily's legs gave out, and 2 officers had to hold her up as she sobbed. Great, heaving, ugly sobs that sounded like something dying. Lucas just stared at me, his face a mask of betrayal and rage. You won. Are you happy now? Was I happy? I'd just sent my children to jail. I'd exposed their crimes, destroyed their lives, revealed myself as someone they'd never really loved. I was standing in my living room surrounded by strangers while my family was dragged away in handcuffs. "No," I said honestly. "I'm not happy. I'm heartbroken. But I'm alive and I'm free. And that's more than you were planning to leave me with." They were let out. Emily still crying, Lucas silent and furious, the others still bickering and blaming each other. I watched through the window as they were put into separate police cars, the red and blue lights turning my quiet street into a circus. Neighbors had come out to watch. Mrs. Chen from next door, the Johnsons from across the street, all staring at the spectacle of the Bennett family destruction. I let the curtain fall closed. "Clara?" Harold touched my shoulder gently. "You should sit down. Can I get you some water?" "Tea," I heard myself say. "Earl Grey with honey. That's what Robert would make." And then, finally, I let myself cry. 3 weeks later, I sat in my kitchen watching November rain streak down the windows. The house felt different now, quieter but not empty. The silence after a storm when everything smells clean and looks sharper. The newspaper lay on the table, folded to page 3. Local widow exposes children's plot to steal estate. The article was factual, almost kind. It mentioned Robert's meticulous planning and my brave cooperation with authorities. It listed charges against each conspirator. It quoted Detective Chen calling this one of the most comprehensive elder abuse schemes in 20 years. It didn't mention how I still brewed 2 cups of coffee each morning before remembering. It didn't mention finding Lucas's old baseball glove in the garage and crying for an hour. It didn't capture the particular grief of losing children who are still alive. But it did mention the trial date, January 15th. My phone buzzed. Another journalist wanting an interview. I deleted it, without reading. I'd said everything I needed in my police statement. The rest was spectacle. Mrs. Chen from next door had stopped bringing casseroles after the first week. The looks she gave me now were different. Part admiration, part fear. I'd become the woman who sent her own children to prison. The neighborhood didn't know how to process that. I didn't care anymore what they thought. Harold had visited yesterday with more legal documents. The trust was being restructured. I could take back ownership if I wanted. I told him I'd think about it. The doorbell rang. A courier stood on my porch, rain-soaked and impatient. "Clara Bennett. Sign here." I recognized the return address immediately. Connecticut Women's Correctional Facility. Emily. My hands shook as I carried the letter to the kitchen. I stared at it for a long time before opening it. Inside was a single handwritten page, the paper wrinkled like it had been crumpled and smoothed out several times. Dear Mom, I don't know if you'll read this. I wouldn't if I were you. But my therapist says I need to try, so here I am, trying. I've had 3 weeks to think about what I did. 3 weeks in a cell, wearing orange, eating food that tastes like cardboard, watching women who actually hurt people, and realizing I'm one of them now. I hurt you. I tried to destroy you. And the worst part is, I convinced myself I was helping. That's what Derek kept saying, that we were helping you, saving you from decisions you couldn't make. He made it sound so reasonable. And I wanted to believe it because the alternative was admitting I'd become the kind of person who would throw her own mother away for money. I can't blame Derek anymore. My lawyer tried that. Coercion, manipulation, abusive marriage. But the truth is simpler and uglier. I was drowning in debt, and I chose to pull you under instead of asking for help. Lucas won't admit that. He's still insisting we did nothing wrong, that you're the villain, that Dad betrayed us. He's planning to fight the charges, claim temporary insanity. His lawyer thinks he can get probation. I'm not fighting. I'm pleading guilty to everything. Conspiracy, attempted fraud, elder abuse, all of it. Because I did it, Mom. I did all of it, and you deserved none of it. I know I don't deserve forgiveness. I know what I broke can't be fixed with a letter. But if there's any part of you that remembers the daughter I used to be, before the debt, before Derek, before I turned into this person I don't recognize, I'm asking you to remember that I loved you once, really loved you, and somewhere underneath all the terrible choices, I still do. I'm getting help here. Real help. There's a program for inmates dealing with financial crime. I'm learning about the patterns that led me here. Learning that I've been living beyond my means for so long that I forgot what enough even meant. I don't expect you to visit. I don't expect you to write back. I just needed you to know that I see it now. I see what I did. I see what I almost took from you. I'm so sorry, Mom. Your daughter, if you'll still call me that. Emily. I read the letter 3 times, searching for manipulation, for angles, for performance. But all I found was my daughter's shaky handwriting and words that sounded like truth. The phone rang. Harold's number. Clara, I wanted to give you updates. Lucas is fighting all charges. His lawyer claims emotional distress. Emily accepted a plea deal. 5 years, parole possible in 3 with good behavior, plus restitution and mandatory counseling. 5 years. Emily would be 37 when she got out. And the others? Doctor. Brennan lost his license, facing 8 to 10 years. Derek's cooperating with prosecutors about real estate fraud, reduced charges. Vanessa's embezzlement added 15 counts. She's looking at 7 to 12 years. And Patricia had a heart attack 2 days ago. Her lawyer wants compassionate release. I thought about Patricia at the funeral, hugging me while planning to profit from my destruction. No, I said quietly. No compassionate release. She made her choices. Understood. And Clara, there's something else. Lucas has been getting visits from Vincent Vitelli's associates. The loan shark. They're not pleased their debtor is in jail. Is Lucas in danger? He's in protective custody. But yes, he's finally understanding that his decisions have consequences. I should have felt satisfaction. Instead, I just felt tired. Harold, the trust, Robert's plan, what did he want me to do with it? After everything? Silence, then. He left you a letter. I have it in my safe. He made me promise not to give it until the legal proceedings were settled. But if you want it now... Bring it tomorrow, I said. I think I'm ready. Harold arrived the next morning with a sealed envelope in Robert's handwriting. We sat at the kitchen table, the same table where Lucas had left his laptop open, where Robert had discovered the conspiracy that would kill him. I'll give you privacy, Harold said. Stay, please. I don't want to be alone for this. He nodded, settling into Robert's chair, while I opened the letter with trembling fingers. My dearest Clara. If you're reading this, it means I'm gone and the Omega Protocol worked. You're safe and our children have faced justice. I wish I could hold you through this, but since I can't, I'll try to say what I need to say in words. You're probably feeling guilty. You've probably spent weeks questioning whether you're a monster for not protecting them from consequences. I know you, my love. I know how your heart works. So let me tell you what I learned in my last weeks. Love is not the same as enabling. Protection is not the same as sacrifice. You can love someone and still refuse to let them destroy you. Lucas and Emily became people we didn't raise. I don't know when it happened, but somewhere along the way, they learned to see you as an obstacle instead of a person, as a resource instead of a mother. That's not your fault. You loved them perfectly. But love can't cure the kind of greed that makes children plot against their parents. Here's what I want you to do with everything we built. Live. Not just exist, but actually live. Travel if you want. Take that watercolor class. Eat breakfast at noon. Do all the things we kept putting off for someday. And then, when you're ready, transform 4 Maple Ridge Drive into something that helps other women. A shelter, a resource center, a safe house. I'll leave the details to you. But I want the place where our children tried to imprison you to become a place where other women find freedom. That would be justice, Clara. Not revenge. Justice. As for Lucas and Emily, if they ever become the people we hoped they'd be, they'll find their own way. But you don't owe them another sacrifice. You don't owe them your forgiveness, until it's real and earned. I loved you from the moment I met you. I loved you through every day of our 42 years, and I love you still, wherever I am now. Build something beautiful, my darling. Make them sorry they tried to take you down. All my love, always and forever. Robert. I folded the letter carefully and looked at Harold. He wanted me to turn the house into a women's shelter. Harold smiled. I know. He talked about it endlessly those last weeks. He had drawings, plans, funding ideas. He wanted to call it Clara's house. Something in my chest, something locked tight since the funeral, finally loosened. No, I said. We'll call it Robert's Legacy, because this was his final gift to me, the chance to become someone who helps instead of someone who needs help. 6 months later, I stood in front of 4 Maple Ridge Drive as contractors finished renovations. The house that Lucas and Emily had tried to steal now bore a bronze plaque. Robert's Legacy. A safe harbor for women in transition. Founded in memory of Robert Bennett, who believed that love meant protection. The first floor, offices and meeting rooms. The second floor, 6 bedrooms for women escaping domestic violence or financial abuse. The basement, a classroom for financial literacy, legal rights, job skills. Harold had helped me find funding through Robert's business connections. 3 full-time counselors, a part-time lawyer, rotating volunteers. Women were already calling, asking for help, asking for hope. I'd kept the 3rd-floor bedroom as a small apartment. I wasn't ready to leave entirely. Maybe I never would be. My phone buzzed. Emily Bennett approved for supervised visitation. Will you accept? Emily had written every week for 6 months. Her letters changed from apologies to updates on therapy, GED classes, plans to train as a peer counselor for other inmates. She never asked to see me. She just kept writing, as if the act itself was penance. I typed, once a month, supervised, no promises beyond that. The response came quickly. Thank you, Mom. I'll take whatever you can give. Lucas hadn't written at all. According to Harold, he'd been convicted on all charges, 8 years. Still insisting he'd done nothing wrong, still blaming me. Vincent Vitelli's associates had made clear his debt would be waiting when he got out. Some people never look in the mirror. The grand opening was on a Tuesday in May. The mayor came, awkwardly praising my strength without mentioning why I'd needed it. Local news covered it but kept their distance. I didn't give interviews. I just opened the doors and welcomed the first 6 women, domestic violence survivors, women escaping financial abuse, 2 who'd been homeless. This is a place to rebuild, I told them. You're not charity cases. You're not victims. You're survivors who deserve a second chance. One woman, Sarah, 58, escaping 30 years of abuse, started crying. I thought I'd lost everything. So did I said honestly. But losing everything is sometimes the only way to figure out what's worth keeping. That night, I sat in my 3rd-floor apartment looking at the framed photo on my nightstand. Robert and me on our 40th anniversary, laughing. It felt like looking at strangers. Next to it, a new photo. Me at the grand opening, surrounded by the 6 women. I wasn't smiling, but I looked strong. I looked certain. I looked like someone who'd survived. My phone buzzed with an email from the prosecutor. Dr. Marcus Brennan. 10 years, medical license permanently revoked. Derek Morrison. 6 years, cooperation reduced sentence. Vanessa Bennett. 12 years for fraud and embezzlement. Patricia Hartwell. 4 years, health issues considered. Lucas Bennett. 8 years, parole denied. Emily Bennett. 5 years, parole eligible in 2. 5 with good behavior justice. Legal, official, documented. But the real justice? Derek lost his real estate license and marriage. Vanessa lost her career and freedom. Patricia lost her church standing. Dr. Brennan lost everything he'd built. Lucas lost the money, the mother, and protection from loan sharks. Emily lost freedom but gained self-awareness, accountability, a chance to become better. That was the difference. Lucas was still the victim of his own story. Emily was finally taking responsibility. I opened my journal, a new habit from therapy. Today, I opened Robert's legacy. 6 women have a safe place tonight because of what my children tried to destroy. Robert would be proud. I think maybe I'm proud too. I miss him every day. I miss the children Lucas and Emily used to be. But I'm learning that grief and relief can exist in the same heart. I'm 60 years old. My husband is dead. My children are in prison. My cousin betrayed me. And I'm still here. I'm still here, building something beautiful from the ashes of everything they tried to burn. Robert was right. Love is not the same as enabling. Protection is not the same as sacrifice. I protected myself, and in doing so, I learned to love myself enough to know I deserved protecting. That's the legacy I'm leaving. The truth that women, even older women, even widows, even mothers, deserve to fight back. We deserve to say no. We deserve to survive. And we deserve to thrive. I closed the journal and looked out at the house below. Lights on in every room. Women making tea, talking quietly, beginning the hard work of rebuilding. This was Robert's final gift, not just safety, but purpose. And this was my gift to him, making sure his death meant something more than an ending. I touched the pendant I still wore, the recording device that saved my life. A reminder of the moment I chose survival over sentiment. Downstairs, I heard laughter. Real laughter, the kind that comes when you realize you're going to be okay. I smiled. I was going to be okay too.